This is a very exciting video for me because we get to look at all the weapons coming with Into the Light, and they actually gave us all the weapons with all their perks that they're going to be able to get dropped with. So today, I think it's in my best interest and yours to walk through each weapon and look at see what our god rolls that we're going to go for and look for. If you don't know about some of these weapons, these are all the ones coming back from Into the Light. They also talk about how what eras they come from, which is also pretty cool. But we're going to focus on each weapon. We're going to focus on the list, and I'm going to give you what I think and what I'm going to go for as the god rolls, the perfect rolls. In the third column, our choices are Unrelenting, Stats for All, Demolitionist, Ambitious Assassin, Surplus, Steady Hand, and Disruption Break. Out of all these, the ones that stand out the most to me are going to be Demolitionist, because every time you get a kill, it's going to give you more grenade energy. Ambitious Assassin, which is what we've always ran with this weapon. You get a kill, reload, it gives you 2 in the mag, and you can just get a kill and reload, always have 2 in the mag. Always a really good choice to have. Out of the 3 of these, I think I'm gonna go for Demolitionist. I already have one with the Ambitious Assassin, so I think I'm gonna go for Demolitionist. If I get it with 2 perks, I'm gonna go for Demolitionist and Ambitious Assassin, especially if I can make them enhanced. Demolitionist is gonna be really good on this. In the 4th column, we have Wellspring, Golden Tricorn, One for All, Bait and Switch, Chain Reaction, Rampage, Desperate Measures. Out of these, I think it's still gonna be Chain Reaction, especially if you enhance it. Rampage is okay, and I know they're talking about nerfing Chain Reaction, but I still think Chain Reaction, until we see what the nerf actually is still gonna be the best choice in this slot. Desperate Measures, I don't think I know about that perk. That might be a new perk coming with Into the Light, so this might all change once we know about Desperate Measures. It seems all these weapons come with Desperate Measures, so it has to be a new perk. And if Desperate Measures is cool, I say go for it. If it isn't better or equally good as Chain Reaction or Rampage, then I would probably drop it. Wellspring is not terrible if you want to go for like a super high just Demolitionist Wellspring build, but Wellspring's benefits just aren't good enough to be outweighed from like Chain Reaction and even Golden Tricorn. So 4th column, I still say go for a Chain Reaction. Desperate Measures might be worth it. Next up, we have the Beyond Light weapon, Succession. In our 3rd column, we have Moving Target, No Distractions, Lead from Gold, Reconstruction, Firmly Planted, Demolitionist, and Discord. In this slot, there's only 2 choices for me, Lead from Gold and Reconstruction. 4th column, I have Snapshot, Redirection, Recombination, Warple, Focus Fury, Fire Line, Box Breathing, Desperate Measures. Once again, I don't know what Desperate Measures is right now, so we're gonna have to disregard that currently. But I think Recombination and the Vorpal weapon are probably your 2 best choices. Box Breathing isn't terrible in this sniper if you use it for like a GM or something, but I still think Vorpal weapon is the go-to choice for this, just because you get a free 15% on everything major or higher when you shoot it. Recombination is really fun if you mix it with like just pulling it out occasionally and shooting it to get a massive damage shot. But I think Vorpal is the best choice if you need to get like 1 perk on this slot. Next up, we have the one that kind of shocked me the most is coming back, Falling Guillotine from Shadowkeep Season of Arrivals. In our 3rd column, we have Vorpal Weapon, Relentless Strikes, Repulsor Brace, Frenzy, Attrition Orbs, Chain Reaction, Duelist Trance. In these, the ones that stand out to me the most has to be Vorpal Weapon. However, Vorpal Weapon no longer is as big of a damage buff anymore. That is only 10%, not 15% like on everything else, and 20 on primaries. So unfortunately, Vorpal Weapon is not the best choice here. Unless you just want to have a flat damage buff at all times, I wouldn't go with Vorpal. Relentless Strikes is really good. Every time you do a couple hits, you get ammo back. So it's really good for sustained damage and for just ammo economy. Repulsor Brace is, we all know about Repulsor Brace where you get like the void AoE energy stuff going. Repulsor Brace is really fun on this. Frenzy, which is going to be a 15% damage buff, but you have to have a few seconds of being in combat before it activates. But once you're in combat for a few seconds, then it triggers 15%, which is really good. Attrition Orb, I'm not really a big fan of, so I wouldn't go for it. Chain Reaction, personally, I'm not a big fan of on swords, but if you want something really fun, you could probably go for it. Duelist Trance, the same things. Kind of fun, not really my style. For this third column, personally, I'm going to be going for Relentless Strikes or Frenzy. Depending on what I'm pairing it with in the other slot, Relentless Strikes will just let me have more, ammo on my damage from the sword, and Frenzy is just going to be just topping off damage if I want to mix it with something else in the fourth column. In the fourth column, we have Surrounded, which is whenever you're surrounded, you get a massive damage buff. Whirlwind Blade, which is going to increase your damage as you keep swinging up to 10 times. The Stabilizing Rounds, which is that other portion of the synergy that comes with Repulsor Braids for just a lot of void stuff. Eager Edge, we all know about Eager Edge. Bait and Switch, we all know about Bait and Switch. Damage with all 3 weapons, and you get like a big damage buff, 30% on that sword. Sword Logic, which is just really cool. I don't know why people are talking down about Sword Logic, but Sword Logic is really good. You get damage buffs just from damaging a target, and it lasts for as long as you're in combat, which is really cool. And of course, Desperate Measures. This one's one that I'm probably gonna have the most combinations with. In the third column, I'm probably gonna go for Relentless Strikes, but if I go for Relentless Strikes, I'm going to pair it with Whirlwind Blade or Sword Logic. I know some people say Bait and Switch. I don't really know if Bait and Switch is worth it on swords. I know we just went through the Slammer farm last week, and I already have that sword, so I'm going to probably not go for another Bait and Switch sword, unless, I was talking with my chat about this recently, unless Bait and Switch gets changed, or unless this Vortex sword archetype gets buffed or changed, or something. If they do something with, this Vortex frame, there seems to be a lot of Vortex frames coming out. So I wouldn't be surprised if they buff Vortex frames or make this spin to win kind of broken. Maybe they make the charge lower, but make the damage like tripled or something and making it worth it. But we'll wait and see. But if they do something to Vortex frame, I think getting Surrounded or Bait and Switch is really worth it. If not, I think Whirlwind Blade and Relentless Strikes is perfect to have on this sword. If you want something really fun, I wouldn't be surprised if you go for Eager Edge and Frenzy. That's probably one of the ones I want to go for. I know we're talking about a lot of like flying and stuff like that, but Relentless, Whirlwind Blade, and you also want to get Frenzy and Eager Edge. And if they do some things to change with the sword, Bait and Switch, and then the third choice for me is going to be Frenzy and Sword Logic, two damage buffs that will be able to be stacked on top of each other. Could be really fun. From Forsaken and Season of the Drifter, we have the Recluse. In our third column, we have Feeding Frenzy, Enlightened Action, Subsistence, Threat Detector, Repulsor Brace, Hip Fire Grip, and Dynamic Sway. Of course, we're not talking about PvP, so for me, there's only 2 that stand out, which is Feeding Frenzy and Enlightened Action. The column is going to be Massive Arms, Target Lock, Frenzy, Surrounded, Destabilizing Rounds, Tap the Trigger, and Desperate Measures. For me, I'm going to go for Massive Arms. Massive Arms was the go-to perk, which was the only perk on this weapon, where you had a 50% increase, I believe 50%, like 60%, something insane on the weapon when you got a kill. And that kill happened with any weapon. I know they're changing it, and I know it's not going to be like 50% anymore. I would probably say Massive Arms is going to be 20% now, because like Vorpal is 20% on primaries, so it makes sense for Massive Arms to be 20% as well. They might make it 25. If they make it 25, then this is a must. Target Lock, I think, is okay. I don't really like Target Lock on SMGs, but that's just a personal thing. Frenzy is cool, and I think it could be really cool if you pair it with Enlightened Action, but Enlightened Action already gives you most of what Frenzy does with the handling and reload buffs, and you would only be getting the 15% bonus from Frenzy, So the Stabilizing Rounds, personally, is Void. You can go for it if you want. I don't think it's worth it. Surrounded, same thing here. Tap the trigger, desperate measures. We gotta wait and see on desperate measures. So for me, it's gonna be enlightened action and master of arms as my go-to guide roll to go for. This is the one that's gonna be the most interesting because we have micro missile, which is our intrinsic perk. It's gonna be a new breach loaded. This is one that I'm gonna be looking at differently than what I've been looking at for the past couple of years. Most GLs, even my favorite one, Ignition Code, all those, I focused on a blinding GL with some AoE like stuff like Danger Zone or Surrounded, things like that, Slide Shot, Vorpal. This one is different, and I'm excited, really excited about Mountaintop. So our third column has Ambitious Assassin, Impulse Amplifier, Demolitionist, Lead from Gold, Slick Draw, Autoloading Holster, and Overflow. Personally, this is stacked with choices, and the ones that stick out to me the most is Ambitious Assassin, because with Mountaintop, unlike other breach loaded blinding grenade launchers, you spend Mountaintops most of your time actually getting kills with Mountaintop, so it becomes very easy to shoot it, reload, and have two. Shoot it, reload, and have two. So I wouldn't be against going for Ambitious Assassin, and just gotta wait and see. But I think Ambitious Assassin is a sleeper pick in this third column. Next up, we have Impulse Amplifier. I'm not gonna knock this off because Impulse Amplifier increases the speed or velocity of your grenades. If it's like traditional Mountaintop had like insane speed already, but maybe with the nerfs, you kind of have to go for that to have that insane speed again. But we'll see. From the video, it looked like it was still pretty decent, but who knows? Maybe, just headcanon, maybe Impulse Amplifier increases the amount you can rocket jump. Now, if you can increase the amount of rocket jumping with using Impulse Amplifier, then hey, you got to go for that. That's gonna be a really, really cool thing. Probably not gonna happen. That's probably not how the sandbox is making this weapon, but we'll see. Demolitionist instantly is the one I'm gonna go for. Just if I were to get nothing else, I'm gonna go for Demolitionist. This is gonna give you a lot of energy. I'm a big Demolitionist fan, so Demolitionist is really, really good. Also, Lead from Gold. One thing about Mountaintops I remember is occasionally you'd run out of ammo since you kind of made use it as a primary. So Lead from Gold could probably help with that. Slick Draw, I could do without this, not really a fan. Autoloading Holster, always gonna go for Autoloading Holster if possible, but this might be the first time I don't really go for Autoloading Holster because Autoloading Holster is generally something I've used for blinding. Like I would pull out the GL, blind, put it away, stow it. Looking historically from when I remember using Mountaintop, I didn't really stow it often. I used it as a primary, so Autoloading Holster would probably be a waste. But Autoloading Holster is always a good choice. Gotta wait and see how the gameplay has made Mountaintop be used now. Overflow, I think might be the better choice out of it and Ambitious Assassin because you're probably gonna run around picking up special and you're gonna always have it overflowed. And who knows, maybe enhanced overflow lets you have 3, but you know, I doubt it. But out of the 3 big ones for me, it's gonna be sleeper pick, Ambitious Assassin, Demolitionist, and Lead from Gold are kind of interchangeable for me, but I think Demolitionist is what I'm gonna go for first, and Overflow. So for me, in the third column, it's gonna be Demolitionist, Overflow, and Lead from Gold out of the best choices for me to go for. In our fourth column, we have the big damage perks. You have Rampage, you have Vorpal Weapon, Adrenaline Junkie, One for All, Harmony, Recombination, and Frenzy. Looking at all this and knowing and how I use Mountaintop, the one that instantly stands out to me is Frenzy. With Frenzy, I think you're gonna have a very fun time. It's going to increase your reload speed even more. So maybe if the reload speed is actually really noticeable, you do pair it with the Ambitious Assassin, so you have a fast reload, fast handling, all that stuff. And with Frenzy, you get a damage buff of 15%. Now I know Vorpal is also 15%, which is flat, but Frenzy has more going for it. You still have 15%, but you also get the handling and reload buff, and Vorpal only works on, you know, majors and higher. The rest of them I can kind of do without. Rampage is okay. The combination can be really fun for like maybe one shot a champion or something, but I'm gonna go with Frenzy as my go-to #1 choice in the 4th column for Mountaintop. For Hammerhead, for another Forsaken weapon from Season of the Forge, Hammerhead is a void machine gun that we have coming back that's got to compete with Corrective Measure and has to compete with Commemoration. In our 3rd column, we have some pretty cool stuff. We have Feeding Frenzy, Destabilizing Rounds, Envious Assassin, Rampage, 4 times the Charm, Rewind Rounds, and Under and Over. In the slots, knowing that it's void, I think the ones that most people are going to want to go for is either the traditional Hammerhead God roll or the one you saw in the Into Light streams yesterday. And that's going to be Rampage, which is going to give you that 50, I think it's like 20% at max. I don't know. I have not used Rampage in such a long time. But Rampage as just a damage perk. You could also go for Destabilizing Rounds on a machine gun. Couldn't be the worst idea. Also, Rewind Rounds, I'm a big fan of, especially on my Volta Glass machine gun. But out of all these, I think the best choice is probably going to be Rampage or Rewind Rounds. In our 4th column, we have Surrounded, High Impact Reserves, Target Lock, Onslaught, Killing Tally, Desperate Measures, Tap the Trigger. Here are a couple choices that I think are worth going for. The first one being Killing Tally, as we all saw, just stacking up damage perks together. And Onslaught. I think Onslaught could be really cool because you have the damage buff of Rampage, and Onslaught, which is going to increase your rate of fire with this weapon, which could be really fun. Another 2 choices that could be kind of cool is Target Lock with 4 times the Charm or Rewind Rounds. I'm not a big fan of Target Lock, but if I had to use it, it would probably be on machine gun. So if I was to go for Target Lock, I would go for it with 4 times the Charm or Rewind Rounds. Our next Forsaken one, they are really highlighting Forsaken now that they like talk about it. It's gonna be Blast Furnace, which is my favorite pulse rifle. I know some bygones for sale out there. My favorite pulse rifle from Forsaken era. In our 3rd column, we have Zen Moment, Snapshot, Shoot to Loot, Keep Away, Perpetual Motion, Kinetic Tremors, Head Seeker. In this slot, there's only 2 choices for me, and that's going to be Shoot to Loot or Kinetic Tremors. Kinetic Tremors, of course, is going to give you the AoE damage after you get some precision hits. Always a good choice, especially in GMs. And Shoot to Loot. Now, Shoot to Loot, generally I prefer on, you know, scout rifles and stuff. But, you know, Shoot to Loot could be pretty cool here. Really depends. But I think most people, including myself, will probably go for a Kinetic Tremors Blast Furnace. The 4th column, we have Kill Clip, Firefly, One for All, Frenzy, Rampage, Rapid Hit, and Desperate Measures. In this one, I think I'm gonna go for Rapid Hit. I'm not too sure about a lot of the other choices. Frenzy could be pretty cool. Rampage, I don't really think works on this weapon because it's just the way you use pulse rifles currently in the PvE sandbox. If that changes, you know, Frenzy and Rampage could become like really top tier. Firefly could be cool to pair with Kinetic Tremors. Not too sure of his usability. So for me, it's going to be probably Kinetic Tremors and Rapid Hit for my go-to perks to go for on Blast Furnace. Next up, we have from Forsaken, Season of the Outlaw. We have Edge Transit, which is a GL that they talked about hitting like a truck and being really strong. They also say that they want it to be like an ad clear type of choice, but also being really good for damage. So we'll look at this and see. We have 3rd column Chain Reaction, Cascade Point, Impulse Amplifier, Field Prep, Ambitious Assassin, Envious Assassin, and Repulsor Brace. The 2 that stand out to me initially has to be Ambitious Assassin, Envious Assassin. As far as like, I don't know of a lot of weapons that we have both of those perks together. out of the two, I think Envious Assassin is a better choice. And I don't know if I'd go for them. I know we just went through an era of like getting a GL from trials with Envious. So if you didn't get one, I didn't get one. You probably should go for this with Envious Assassin. The other one I think might be really slept on is Cascade Point, but it could be cool, but it only has like 7 in the mag, so you only want an ammo dump for like 7. Could be cool. Maybe 8 ammo dump. This is tough. I think for this, if I were to go for something in the third column, I'm probably going to go for either Field Prep or Envious Assassin. I'm a big fan of Field Prep, just gives you more base ammo, and then when you crouch, you get like max reload speed. So, you know, maybe I'll go for Envious. The rest of them I can kind of do without. Cascade Point, Chain Reaction, Impulse Amplifier, I can do without them. Probably going to go for myself Field Prep or Envious Assassin. In the fourth column, we have Frenzy, Destabilizing Rounds, Deconstruction, One for All, Bait and Switch, Full Court, and Explosive Light. Now on this, I'm probably just going to go for Bait and Switch. It's 30% buff when you do all the weapon damage swapping stuff. Explosive Light always is really cool, but not as big of a buff anymore as it used to be. The rest of them kind of don't interest me much. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go for Envious and Bait and Switch, and you should too. The other cool one that they talk about is Chain Reaction and Destabilizing Rounds, but I personally don't use GLs for ad clear, personally. But if you're one of those people that love for ad clear, you could go for that. It could be really cool. But for me, it's going to be Envious and Bait and Switch. They talk a lot about Luna's Howl, so if you're looking for the perks, they're down here. But Luna's Howl from Season of the Outlaw is a 180 precision hand cannon that's now a 140. And I know this is going to be specifically for PvE, but this is a PvP weapon first and foremost. So if you're looking for like some combos and stuff for PvP, I'm sure there's some PvP YouTubers out there who are going to have that, you know, ready for you within the hour. For me, using Luna's Howl in a PvE environment, the third column gives us Eye of the Storm, Subsistence, Discord, Encore, Slide Shot, Enlightened Action, and Heal Clip. Out of these, personally, I'm going to go for Enlightened Action. Like I said, just increase reload and handling just for damaging. And Heal Clip. Heal Clip could be kind of cool in a PvE environment. Out of the two, I'm probably going to go for Enlightened Action if I can get it with 2 perks. In the fourth column, we have Magnificent Howl, Kill Clip, Incandescent, Desperate Measures, Opening Shot, Precision Instrument, and Harmony. Magnificent Howl is a perk for me. Some people might want Kill Clip, but the buff I think for Magnificent Howl would be higher. And Incandescent, I don't really care for like the solar stuff. If I'm gonna use that kind of stuff, I'm gonna use the Neo Muna hand cannon or a Sunshot. So I don't need another one. So I'm gonna go for Magnificent Howl personally, or Precision Instrument. I'm a big fan of Enlightened Action and Precision Instrument as a combo, but more than likely I'll go for Enlightened Action and Magnificent Howl. Interesting note as well is that they did mention, not forgotten, they didn't want to put both of them together, but they might bring it back in the future. So who knows? Next up, we have D2 Year 1 Midnight Coup. Midnight Coup is the original hand cannon that everyone went for back when Rampage got buffed out the wazoo, and I was really excited to see what's going to come back with this. And third column, we have Outlaw, Firefly, Shoot to Loot, Explosive Payload, Moving Target, Attrition Orbs, Enlightened Action. Really interesting that Outlaw and Firefly are in the same slots. I think I'm gonna go with Firefly. I know I had to think about it for a second. Firefly could be really strong. I know there's Shoot to Loot. I don't know how I feel about Shoot to Loot and hand cannons. I could be sleeping on it. I might go for one with Shoot to Loot for hand cannon, but I don't know if I'd waste a slot. Explosive Payload is always a good choice. I really wish Explosive Payload and Shoot to Loot were in separate columns. I might make one with that, but unfortunately they're in the same slots, so can't really go for that. Enlightened Action I think is really strong on hand cannons, so there's not a bad choice of going for that either. But I don't want all the weapons to have just the same perks, so I think for this one I'm gonna go for Firefly with Midnight Coup. It probably is just because I want it to have Firefly, but you know, I'm gonna go for Firefly, and a backup choice is gonna be Explosive Payload. In the fourth column, we have Rampage, Kinetic Tremors, Zen Moment, One for All, Frenzy, Opening Shot, and Desperate Measures. The two that are going to stand out for me is Rampage Firefly. It's gonna be really, really good. Or Firefly Kinetic Tremors, or Explosive Payload Kinetic Tremors, or even Enlightened Action Rampage, Enlightened Action Kinetic Tremors. Those are gonna make you have a fantastic Midnight Coup, way better than Callus and Leviathan ever thought they could. Hung Jury from the Taken King, which is interesting that they mentioned this is the weapon that they're bringing back from Taken King, because this was a really solid and strong weapon from Taken King. But I still think they could have. I still think they could have done something else. I don't know what the Hung Jury has against them. It should say Hung Jury SR10 because they've had like 10 variants of this weapon now. But anyway, third column we have Rewind Rounds, Enlightened Action, Kinetic Tremors, Rapid Hit, Shoot to Loot, No Distractions, and a Loose Change. Kinetic Tremors or Shoot to Loot. Out of all of them, Kinetic Tremors on a Scout is fantastic. Shoot to Loot on a Scout is fantastic. So those are the two that I would go for. I don't know if I will. I already have most of this stuff, but Shoot to Loot or Kinetic Tremors are the two that you should go for in the third column. The fourth column, we have One for All, Cascade Point, Box Breathing, Firefly, Precision Instrument, Desperate Measures, Explosive Payload. Explosive Payload, it's going to be the best combo with Shoot to Loot. It's going to be increased damage with Kinetic Tremors. And the rest I could not really do much with. Precision Instrument could be neat. Pairs very well with Kinetic Tremors. But I think Explosive Payload is just, on Hung Jury, is just too good to have it with Explosive Payload and Shoot to Loot. So go for that. Last but certainly not least, we have Stranger's Rifle, now known as Elsie's Rifle. In the third column, we have Feeding Frenzy, Zen Moment, Repulsor Brace, Loose Change, Keep Away, Under Over, and Rewind Rounds. In this slot, there's only two choices for me. It's going to be Feeding Frenzy from the Pulse Rifle side, or Rewind Rounds from the not having to reload side. I'm pretty sure this back in the original D1 had Rewind Rounds as well, so it would be nice to have that still be in its like DNA of Stranger's Rifle. In our fourth column, we have Adrenaline Junkie, Frenzy, Destabilizing Rounds, Kill Clip, Desperado, Desperate Measures, Head Seeker, and all of these, it's got to be Frenzy or Desperado. I like those two the most out of all these choices, thinking of it in like a pulse rifle. I know they talked a lot about this being a PvP choice. It was always a PvP choice in D1, but it was pretty decent in PvE. And I think having it with Rewind Rounds and Frenzy could be really, really solid, or Desperado could be really, really cool as well. All in all, I am really excited about all these weapons. I think you should be as well. And I'm excited to get these all with like the variant color scheme as well. It's gonna be really, really cool to farm this stuff. I said it in yesterday's video, but props to Bungie again for knocking these weapons out of the park. Even though there's a couple duds, I still think this is really, really solid, especially for free. Thank you so much for watching this video. If there's a different perk combination that you're going for, let me know in the comments. If there's a weapon that you're really excited to farm, let me know in the comments as well. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.